Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our friends abroad. Thank you, everybody, for joining our session. We have a hot topic to discuss today. We're covering leveling up with Microsoft 365 Copilot. So I'm going to give everybody a minute just to get settled in and begin shortly. In the meantime, please say hello in the chat. Let us know your name and where you're from. As for me, my name's Kanisha, and I'm tuning in from beautiful Irvine, California, in the OC, where our Trusted Tech Team office is based in. All right, I'm gonna let people come in. But in the meantime, let me go over some housekeeping notes first. So first off, everybody will be camera off and muted so we can avoid any background noise and to make sure we can hear our speakers nice and clearly. That said, we do want to keep this webinar interactive, so we will try to leave time for live Q&A at the end. So feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A module as you go or interact with us in the chat. This presentation is also being recorded, so we are going to send that recording and slides to everyone after via email, so look out for that in your inbox. And lastly, we do have some exclusive offers on Copilot at the end of the webinar for attendees, so please stay until the end to find out. But I think it's going to be a really great session. Oh, wow, lots of people coming in. Amazing. Awesome. So let me get started on our agenda as we let people fly in. Okay, so here is our agenda for today. We're covering a little bit of everything. So we're going to start off with a brief overview of the adoption of artificial intelligence and why it's just become so attractive to businesses everywhere. Then we're going to move to Copilot prompting best practices with a live demo. We have experts in-house. And then we're going to follow with everyday use cases for your different teams and ROI improvements. And then we're going to finish up with tips on how to get started. So let me introduce our amazing panel. As you can see, we have a fantastic session today. I'm really excited. So I'm going to kick it off by introducing our panel. We have former Microsoft Senior Cloud Solutions Architect, Nick Blackman. We have cloud support expert, Will Whaley. And we have professional services expert, Afif Ahmed. So really great people in tonight. It's going to be awesome. And I'm going to start off by passing the mic to Afif to discuss the adoption of artificial intelligence and just the start of Copilot and why that's just become so attractive to everybody here. So if we're all good to go, Afif, do you want to get started?
Yes, please. Thank you,
Amazing.
Kanisha. Wonderful welcome to all the attendees. Good morning, everybody. I hope it's been a great week for everyone. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you all for tuning in for another webinar hosted by Trusted Tech Team. As Kanisha mentioned, stay tuned because we do have something special for all the attendees here at the end that you're going to be wanting to see. My name is Afif Ahmad. I'm the Professional Services Delivery Manager here at Trusted Tech Team. I've been in IT for 10 years, spent time in the public sector, more specifically K-12 education, worked my way to corporate finance, and find my way here at Trusted Tech Team, and it's been a happy marriage ever since. Here at Trusted Tech Team, I'm proud to be part of the professional services team, where I work amongst very talented Microsoft certified architects and engineers, overseeing the service delivery through project management. And I would consider myself more of a modern work expert and specialist, kind of working more with modern work projects, I guess you could say. The goal is my goal is to connect to all of our wonderful clients here and act in their best interests in all things Microsoft 365 and Azure, to be really aligned with all the latest and greatest and best practices and industry standards. So without further ado, um, a lot has changed since we kind of first met earlier in the year. There's been a lot of updates to Microsoft 365 Copilot that we're going to go ahead and release. But essentially, we're in wave 2 of Copilot right now, which is very exciting. But the adoption of artificial intelligence, right? So, I mean, one of the biggest things that we've been able to identify here within our organization and are working with many clients is since the release of Copilot early in the year and pretty much the trend and hype around artificial intelligence is AI is really transforming the impact of the current workplace, right? So the modern workplace as we know it is transforming, right? And below, within this slideshow that you're seeing right here, this on our screen right now, is the emphasis and the priorities of the fundamental principles of why, right? A faster business growth and improved customer experience, right? Everybody wants to increase their revenue and reduce costs, right? And with adopting AI and Copilot, you do have the ability to do so, right? Which we'll kind of dive in a little bit deeper. Optimize workflows and business processes, right? So that's your cost savings and operational efficiency. I mean, with Copilot being embedded within your Microsoft 365 ecosystem, right? Essentially, you can connect to all the wonderful modern work apps, right? Something that comes into my mind is essentially Power Automate, right? With Microsoft 365 Copilot, we could leverage using a Power Automate flow to essentially do, employee onboarding and offboarding. That's really efficient, right? That's the practical use of AI. Boosted productivity and improved employee experience, right? I mean, those are going to be your power users in the organization, right? If we give them this tool, right, any type of AI tool such as Copilot, right, for this instance, we could definitely see a huge productivity boost, right? The return on your investment while investing into your team to do so, you'll get that, right? And it's definitely evident and it shows. Next slide, please. So here's a very interesting tip that I wanted to highlight. The AI adoption, right? It's going at an unprecedented speed right now. So out of all of the users that are using it right now, when we really dive into it, 46% of them really started using it 6 months ago, right? So chronologically, that aligns with the release of Copilot, but that also that hype between AI in general, right? And what I really want to highlight is 75% of people are already using AI at work. But the most important thing is 78% of AI users bring their own AI tools to work, right? So what does that mean? We're familiar with the terminology such as BYOD. Well, now since the release of AI, there's something called BYOAI, which is bringing your own AI. So you have a lot of these power users that are essentially, using their own applications or whatever they subscribe to, right? So something that comes into mind is, for instance, ChatGPT. Some users will have their own personal subscription for that. But within Google, within browsing the internet, maybe it'd be Gemini, right? That's already embedded in the browser. You also have applications such as Adobe AI or Canva AI for your graphic designers. So a lot of things to come into play. But the most important thing that I want to highlight in this, while you have users kind of practicing BYOAI, is compliancy, security, data governance, right? If they're pretty much prompting and working with that data on those different platforms, that's something that we want to consider, something we want to review before we allow our users to pretty much do so, right? And that's something that we're going to be tying in today and highlighting. Going into the next slide, please. All right. So here's an interesting fact, right? Employee usage is high, but leadership is lagging. Why is that, right? So 79% of leaders believe AI is business imperative and here to stay competitive, right? I mean, when you think about it, we already talked about some points right here. So the efficiency, automation coming into play, that allows organizations to be much more efficient on their time, right? Giving those power users those tools, we could definitely see that ROI coming into play. And when we're staying competitive, right, when we have other organizations leveraging that, we might as well hop on that trend as well and see what we could do as an organization to leverage that. A surprising 60% say that their organization lacks a plan and vision to implement that. I find that really interesting, right? Fortunately, everybody attending here, we're Trusted Tech Team. We're your Microsoft Solutions partner. We're more than happy to pretty much get that engagement started for you and with you, right? That's the most important thing, with you. We want to be aligned with your best interests and make sure that we can implement that perfectly, right? But if that's the variable that most organizations are kind of preventing them to make that leap, for all the attendees, welcome, right? And 59% worry about quantifying the productivity gains of AI. So that's another interesting fact too, right? I mean, considering everything that we talked about, how efficient it can be and how it could really increase your ROI, I wouldn't really be too worried about that. I could definitely see that your ROI will definitely pay off. And especially when you take that from a not using it or practicing it within your organization, for instance, and then starting to pilot and see the projected POC and ROI in that, that's where I see the value. That where you could really take that and put it into full production. But yeah, thank you. So from this instance, I'll go ahead and pass it off. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Afif. Um, I echo Afif's comments. I'm really excited to tell you more things about Copilot, about the Microsoft 365 Copilot. Just to introduce myself, my name is Nick Blackman, and I'm currently serving as an architect working across the Microsoft stack. Now, I have over 19 years of experience working with Microsoft technologies. I formerly served as a senior cloud solutions architect with Microsoft's US Global Partner Solutions team. Now, I want to show you some very cool things that the Microsoft 365 Copilot can do. Microsoft 365 Copilot works seamlessly with popular Microsoft 365 enterprise apps, such as Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and more. Now, it helps you to create, edit, and manage documents, spreadsheets, presentations. There's a host of things that we can do. But the question is, how can I use the Microsoft 365 Copilot to drive my productivity and to provide me with great results? Now, this common statement that you probably have heard before rings very true. And that statement is garbage in, garbage out. Now, what am I saying here? What I'm stating is that if we do not provide Copilot with a good prompt or provide it with an appropriate question, then we're not going to get good results. So let's examine together how we can create an effective prompt so that Copilot can give us our desired results. So first and foremost, as we see here within our slide here, the first thing that we need to do is that we have to have a goal when it comes to creating our prompt. We have to ask ourselves, what response do I want from Copilot? What is my end goal? The idea here is to start with the end in mind. You want to specify the output that you want from Copilot. Specify that up front. Now, the next thing that we need to think about is our context. Let's think about that for a moment. What exactly do we need Copilot to do for us? Why do we need it? And who is involved? This is your opportunity to set the stage, to give any context and relevant details about why you need this information. Now, as we move along here, we need to specify the source. Now, one cool thing I want to tell you is that Copilot for Microsoft 365 will allow you to even retrieve information from the internet to help you to provide that desired results or the results that you want from the prompt. So again, this is your opportunity to tell Copilot where to find this data. It could be from a file that exists within Microsoft 365, within your OneDrive, within a SharePoint online directory that you have access to. It could be within a Teams channel. Give Copilot that source. Tell it where to look. Now, with that being said, again, when you're specifying the source, this gives you the opportunity to be in the driver's seat because you're telling Copilot to tailor the delivery and you're stating what Copilot should use to provide you with the desired output. Now, last but not least, we have the expectation. Now, this is kind of the finality of how we want this information to be prompted. With that being said, this is where we should tell Copilot how it should respond to best meet your expectations. You can tell Copilot what format that you want this information to be presented in. It might be a table. It might be in a presentation format. It might be in bullet point format. You name it. There's a myriad of options. So with that being said, I would like to start off with a demo. I want to show you a few examples of how we can do this. Now, I'm going to share my screen here. Bear with me just one moment. Okay. Now, what you should see on my screen right now is Microsoft Teams. Now, when it comes to Microsoft Teams, you can interact with Copilot in two ways. If I were to pull up a direct chat, there would be an icon right here to where I can communicate or ask Copilot questions in the context of that chat or of that specific meeting. But I also have the Microsoft Copilot here, and that's this beautiful, colorful icon here that exists at the top of the Teams menu here. So I'm just going to click on this here. And if you notice, this has given me the ability to even utilize some of the sample prompts that are built within the tool. But also, I have the ability to message Copilot and to give it a prompt of my own. Now, let's go through a few scenarios here. Now, I've been on vacation over the last week, so I need Copilot to help me to catch up with some things. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give it just a few prompts here. Let me show you what we're going to say. So within this prompt here, we're going to tell Copilot, we're going to say, Copilot, you are my personal secretary. Help me catch up from being on vacation last week. Summarize my unread emails, Teams messages, and channel messages from the last work week. List action items in a dedicated column. Suggest follow-ups in a dedicated column. Now, I'm telling Copilot also to build a table for me, and I'm telling it that the table should look like this: type, topic, summarization, action item, and follow-up. If I've been directly mentioned, make the font topic bold. Now, let's see what happens. Watch Copilot work to provide us with this information. So it's searching through Teams, it's searching through Outlook, searching through documents, and here you go. Copilot has basically retrieved that information, and that was roughly about 30 seconds that it has combed through all of those workloads to provide me with a list of all the things that I need to pay attention to. And of course, I can copy this table, I could paste it in a Word document or some other format, and then be able to use it for my use to catch up. Thank you, Copilot. Now, let's look at another example here. I'm going to open up Microsoft Word. Now, I'm going to open up just a net new Word document. This is just a blank document here. We're going to minimize Teams. And let's just open up a blank document. Now, I wanted to open up a blank document so that you would not think that this is smoke and mirrors. I want you to see that this is all being done from scratch. Now, the question is, how do I interact with Copilot in Microsoft Word? Well, here at the top of the page here, you're going to see this icon here, which says Copilot, top right-hand corner of your pane. Now, we're going to click there. All right, and here I have the ability to provide my prompt to Copilot. Now watch what I do next. I have a goal. I have something that I need to provide for my manager. My manager needs an executive business case on why we should utilize Microsoft Teams rooms. Okay, well, I'm running behind on this. I need to hurry up and get this information over to my management. So I'm going to use Copilot to help me out. Now, watch what we do. This one is a little bit lengthy, but let's see the power of what Copilot can do. So we're going to tell Copilot to create an executive business case for my decision makers on why I would move from BYOD, from bring my own device, to Microsoft Teams rooms using information from the internet. Yes, information from the internet, okay? The first paragraph should start with a summary highlighting the business problem that Microsoft Teams rooms solve. Within the second paragraph, create a table comparison of the benefits, scalability, implementation, stability, costs, skills, and resources required, followed by how easy is it to support and maintain Microsoft Teams. Within the third paragraph, create a project timeline, and within the fourth paragraph, include the conclusion. The proposal should be crisp and concise and no longer than 3 pages. That's kind of a mouthful. Let's see how Copilot handles it. All right. So as we watch here, Copilot is searching for the results. It's combing the internet, and there you have it. Copilot has quickly produced the output, and that was in less than 1 minute. Notice what happens. Now, we're just going to look at this together here and notice that Copilot has actually done everything I asked it to do. It's created that executive summary. It's created a comparison table, gave me a project timeline, and of course, the conclusion. These are some of the great things that you can do with the Microsoft 365 Copilot. Now, let's hop over to Outlook. Now, I'm going to hop over to Outlook, and one thing I want to tell you here, and I'm just going to close Outlook really quick here and relaunch it here. And one thing I want to share with you is that I am using the latest Outlook. I'm using the new Outlook for Windows. And just one moment here as Outlook comes up. All right. Okay, so I'm just waiting on my Outlook to come up, but while we're waiting on that, I'm going to hop over to Excel here, and let me show you an example in Microsoft Excel. So let's say, for instance, I have a meeting that's upcoming, and my boss needs this data. Now, my boss needs this information, and they need to see any insights that are in regards to this data. Now, I want to provide them with some quick visuals of what this data represents. Let me show you how. Now, when it comes to interacting with Copilot, I can interact with Copilot by selecting this icon here in the top right-hand corner. So I'm going to click here. Now, again, I have all of these metrics in front of me. I'm going to simply ask Copilot to show me the data insights. Now, watch what happens next. Now, as I do that, one thing I want to mention is that when it comes to utilizing Copilot in Excel, the data has to be in a table format. Okay, so that is the only way that you'll be able to interact with, retaining a good result with your data when it comes to Copilot. Now, if you notice what happened here, it has quickly produced a pivot table and a chart here with results. Now, notice here that I have some quick talking points that I can use in my upcoming meeting. Now, I know what you're thinking. This looks really small because it's in this small pane. Now watch this. I can simply just add it to this sheet. And of course, I can resize this as I need to and make it visible for my team. So that's one example. Now, I need to also find out for my team if there's any trends with the data. Let me show you what we can do. Now, I'm just going to delete this chart here so that Copilot doesn't think we want to reference that. And let's ask Copilot again to look at this information here to see if there's any trends. Now, we're going to simply do it this way. Now, let's just give Copilot this prompt, simply asking, are there any trends in the data? Now watch what it does. Again, it's combing through the information, and look, within less than a minute, it has provided us with those trends. Again, that looks kind of small to me. I need to be able to see it a little bit more clear. I'm going to add it to a sheet here, and there you have it. Copilot has quickly provided us with the trends within our data. There's a myriad of things that we can do when it comes to Copilot and its use with Excel. This is just one brief example. Now, I want to show you an example here of what we can do with meetings. I was actually trying this with Outlook, but I think my Outlook might be having an issue here. I'm going to pull Teams back up here. And bear with me one moment. I'm just going to pull up Teams. And we're going to do the same prompt in Teams. Now, notice what we're going to do. Now, here's the prompt that we're going to ask Copilot. We're going to ask Copilot to show me emails and Teams conversations that need my action or attention, and I have not replied to them yet. Show a table with sender, subject, date, and importance. Now, here's where it gets kind of cool. Notice this. For Teams conversations, show a people icon. For emails, show a message icon. If I was mentioned, I want you to show an up arrow, and for everything else, show a bell. Let's see how Copilot handles this prompt. Okay, it's processing, it's thinking. Now, the cool thing is that it was able to use Teams to look at Outlook, look at the contents that are in Outlook, to look at the contents that are in Microsoft Teams, chat messages, documents, all of the above. So just take a look at that here. It has quickly put that information in a table. Now, notice I was directly mentioned here, so it has up arrows here. For everything else, it uses a bell, right? For anything that might have came from Teams, I have a chat message here. And of course, my messages, I have it as a message icon. So these are just some of the cool things that you can do. Now, if you notice, I was originally going to run this prompt in Outlook, but I chose to use Teams again because my Outlook was moving a little slow. So that is the power that the Microsoft Copilot has, because you can traverse across all the apps to pull this data. Now, I have one final demo that I want to show you today. Let's take a look at PowerPoint. I'm just going to minimize these here, and I'm just going to launch Microsoft PowerPoint here. Okay, and I'm just going to pull up a blank presentation. Now, I want you to see that this is not smoke and mirrors, okay? We're doing this from scratch. Now, notice what we're going to do. To interact with Copilot, we're going to select the Copilot icon that's at the top of the page here. So we're going to select Copilot here. Now, notice what we're going to ask. I have a presentation. I got about 15 minutes before I got to get this presentation done because I need to share this with my boss, right? My boss wants to see information about the annual sales report. Now, I have the data, but I just need some cool graphics that I can put into this presentation. Notice what we're going to do here. We're going to tell Copilot to create a deck entitled Annual Sales Report with sample data that I can easily replace text with. Now, notice how this works. Now, one thing I want to tell you is that if I had this information already in a Word document or listed in one of the Microsoft 365 apps, I could also create a presentation from file. But in this case, I want you to see the power of Copilot, how it's going to reach out to the internet to pull the necessary images. It's going to pull stock free photos to help us with this presentation. Now, notice the output here. So as you can see here, Copilot was able to do that within less than 1 minute, and it has provided us with a beautiful presentation that we can easily replace the sample data with our data. Now, one other cool thing I want to show you here is that it even can provide notes inside of the presentation. So this is just the power of what you can do with the Microsoft 365 Copilot. Well, this ends my demo for today. My name is Nick Blackman. I really thank you for my time here today. And at this time, I'd like to pass it back over to my colleague, Kanisha. Kanisha, over to you.
Awesome, Nick. That's amazing. I can't tell you how many times I need to pull together a presentation super fast. So that was really cool to see. All right, we're gonna pass it on to Will Whaley, and he's gonna talk about how different roles can utilize Copilot. So let me pull up your slide for you right now. All right, and take the floor, Will.
Thank you very much, Kanisha, and thank you very much, Nick, for those great demonstrations. I want to take over here and start with a brief introduction. My name is Will Whaley. I'm the Cloud Support Manager here at Trusted Tech Team. I've been with the firm for about 2.5 years, and before that, I've been in the SaaS application space my entire career across app support, production systems, business analytics, and most recently, cloud engineering. In this section, we're going to take a look at how users in different organizational roles can use Copilot to enhance their day-to-day operations. We find that these various roles are going to find different sources of value over the course of their Copilot journey. We encourage a widespread adoption across multiple business units that shows off the benefits that Copilot can have, not just for 1 or 2 departments in your organization, but the wealth of benefits that can be added in many different business scenarios. Taking it along to the next slide, we're going to see how Copilot can bring AI value across roles and lines of business. We can see there's many examples from sales, marketing, legal, HR, IT, the list goes on from there. These business units are going to have diverse sets of needs, which may show off Copilot's diverse range of capabilities in different ways. For example, my legal team may need to draft a contract for a 1099 contractor. Well, they can use Copilot to make sure everything's included for the role. Copilot's generative AI capabilities, along with the ability to edit the nature of the role, can ensure my legal team needs are tailored to the job's requirements. In another example, my marketing team may need assistance with customer insights and strategy after a new product launch. They may be interested in response metrics relating to a recent outreach campaign, such as click-through rates and viewing time. These indicators can be turned into powerful insights curated by Copilot and can lead to informed decision-making for the key players in my organization. Finally, let's say my finance team may need to generate a year-over-year projection about revenue coming from a certain line of business. Let's say it's manufacturing widgets. Copilot's insights on income statements, balance sheets, ratios, free cash flow can give me an accurate projection to inform my financial planning needs. See, this is why we encourage a broad adoption strategy for Copilot, so that these efficiencies can be discovered across verticals at an organization, rather than having these benefits siloed to a particular set of individuals, one team, or one department. Moving along, we're going to see how expanding Copilot to an entire team can enhance individual workflows through collaboration. When rolling out Copilot, we find that many organizations have a measured approach. Some may even have a deliberately slow pace of introduction. Some customers might even start with 1 or 2 users, often in the same department, and they don't see the value that they would expect from an initial Copilot rollout. We would not recommend this as a course of action because these 1 or 2 users may not see the diverse array of applications that Copilot can be used for. It's not any fault to them. They just may not discover ways to capitalize on Copilot's broad set of capabilities due to the purview of their day-to-day tasks. Instead, we find that starting with a team promotes greater collaboration. Finding that users can share prompts, show off interesting new applications of Copilot, collaborate on projects, and ultimately encourage and promote usage within the team. We also find that cross-functional teams show off the value of Copilot as well, creating opportunities for collaboration across department lines. Moving along, we're going to see about the business value in IT. I myself can speak personally to this because I'm from the IT and customer service side of the business. So I'd like to talk about some of the experiences that I've had using Copilot in my line of work on a day-to-day basis. Whether it be from a customer service perspective, such as a self-help tool for customers before they even reach out to my support team, or support for my agents and engineers once a ticket has been filed, I find that Copilot drives an efficient manner of investigation. This helps reduce lead time for initial diagnosis, filters content to the best results that a search engine probably wouldn't even be able to do, and ultimately reduces resolution time. The results are better as well once problem resolution can be reached with an AI tool in hand. For any support team, I would suggest Copilot. From an information technology perspective, Copilot can have several applications as it relates to data management, IT operations, and information security. On the data management front, we're going to take it to the next slide here. I can use Copilot to retrieve, catalog, and organize my dashboards and reports. Excuse me, we can stay on the last one, I apologize. As I say, as an IT professional, I'm inundated with data. So much it's useful, but so much of it is unorganized. While my own data may be clean and composed on other teams' data, maybe in a format that I'm not familiar with, I can quickly see insights that I need through Copilot's analytics capabilities. In addition to that, IT operations may sometimes involve presentations to management, as well as leadership involving graphic design and marketing work that I may need to generate in a very short time restraint. While my operations are running and I'm busy overseeing the health of the organization, I don't have time to prepare an entire executive summary and a presentation for leadership briefing. That's where Copilot can come in. It can take a holistic view of my operations, prioritize the wins that show off my team's strengths, and ultimately deliver leadership a clear picture of what has taken place. Finally, when it comes to information security, I can use Copilot for security to monitor, watch, and look out for things that I can't look out for. Ultimately, my teams work around the clock to monitor everything they can, but they're only as good as what they see. Copilot for security can watch what they don't know how to look out for, message them immediately when a signal's fired, and offer proactive remediation steps once configured. This keeps my entire environment running smoothly and a general sense of ease for my department and for upper management. Now we're going to take a look at some real-world examples and the return on investment that we've been seeing organizations have since implementing Copilot. The true value in Copilot really centers around the time saved from processing workloads more efficiently and generating ideas and content that may be beyond the scope of my team's capabilities without Copilot, driving value with far less costly investment than traditional methods. A few customer testimonials about productivity to say specifically, the Chief Digital Information Officer at John Holland found that Copilot was useful for dealing with writer's block, giving him a head start on content before he would refine it and add the human element. The head of operations at Flow said that instead of hours researching, he could produce a first draft in a minute. And finally, the vice president of Global Digital Workspace at Bayer saved 45 minutes of reading Copilot summaries instead of documents up to 50 pages in length. For some enterprise testimonials and some statistical impacts, we see the following impacts. Lumen is a telecommunications company with 26,000 employees. They saw a 93% reduction in research time for customer outreach, including over 1,000 new customer touchpoints synthesized with Copilot and $50 million in revenue saved annually that can be put towards other ventures. GHD, a professional services company with 12,000 employees, handled out over 300 Copilot licenses and found a reduction of 10%, saving anywhere from 25 to 50 million in bidding costs. In addition to that, their reps were saving 30 to 60 minutes per workday and a 20 to 30% reduced customer response times. Finally, at Atos, a French information technology company, 50% cost reduction in resolving cases, a 12% decrease in time spent resolving cases, and a 20% speed increase across all tasks. We can see the value of Copilot in everyday applications. Now I'm going to hand it back to Afif so he can speak on getting started with Copilot for Microsoft 365.
Thank you, Will. Wonderful information right there, man. I mean, a lot of practical case studies, and looks like there's a lot of practical use when it comes to the IT department, right? I mean, we have a lot of IT professionals here on the call today, so that's a huge value right there. And Nick, wonderful demonstration in regards to the practicality and technical use of Microsoft 365 Copilot. Whether you're taking that first step or looking to expand, right, Copilot across your business or organization, taking it from that pilot test phase into full production, here at TTT, we want to enable your success and make sure that you're aligned, again, with all of our latest and greatest service offerings, which I'm definitely proud to present today, and make sure that we're all in line with industry standards and best practices. Again, if you're new, welcome. We're happy to have you here, and all the existing clients that are joined on this call, thank you and welcome. We have something special for everyone here at the end that I want to highlight. Next slide, please. All right, so getting started with us to get this M365 readiness assessment going, right? So by right now of the presentation, I hope everybody who's tuned in is interested and already eager to kind of have this engagement with us. I could definitely tell you on our side of the house, we're more than happy and eager to kind of get started with you. So the first step is contact us. If you have the information of your account manager, hit them up. If you have a question in regards to anything that Will or Nick has mentioned so far, and you have that existing Copilot license, send a ticket to the support team and see how we can get that engagement started for you. But ultimately, what I'd like to do is formally present the Trusted Tech Team Microsoft 365 Copilot Readiness Assessment, right? Since the release of Copilot, we've launched this a month right after and found huge and tremendous success to all of our clients who are looking to take that next level with AI and Copilot. So the first step is getting this assessment done, right? Having this engagement with us, as I mentioned very early on of the presentation, is we have here at Trusted Tech Team, Microsoft certified architects and engineers, right? I have the privilege to kind of work with them and collaborate with them with so many different initiatives. And we are very talented, and we've been able to kind of work with all organizations, whether it's SMBs, to enterprise level. There's always something to improve on, which I'm definitely happy and always proud to present when it comes to the day of the presentation with an organization. But essentially, after performing an assessment, right, we'll then, at a collaborative effort, be able to determine if we're ready to deploy, right? So if we're ready to deploy, it's time to purchase those M365 Copilot licenses, right? Within the assessment, we'll have that ability to then give you those recommendations to further optimize your environment, right? Whether it's getting those required prerequisite licenses, right? So for example, if you're currently rocking with a Microsoft Business Standard license or an Office 365 E1, right? This is that time after the assessment. Well, we'll go ahead and take advantage of the roadmap essentially and see what we need to do to get it to align with whatever the organization's needs are, right? So something I want to emphasize is it's never going to be cookie cutter, right? We're going to be custom tailoring your assessment based on the organization needs, right? And further optimize and be efficient to whatever the goals are to your organization, right? And that's pretty much what I want to highlight, right? So you can go with the core or the best in the class. Essentially, the whole goal is to perform data governance, right? And as I mentioned, whether it's SMBs to enterprise, this is something that actually gets neglected a lot. So we're definitely proud and to present that when it comes to the day of delivery, right? And something that I wanted to highlight here in this flow chart in 2B is enable restricted SharePoint search. So what that is, right? Say you have these insufficient licenses, or say you don't have the DLP policies or sensitivity labels into play in your environment right now. So Microsoft actually released this enabled restricted SharePoint search. Think of it as a Microsoft managed policy, right? So for all my Microsoft 365 administrators out there and IT professionals, I'm sure we've all seen that historically, right? Whether it comes to the conditional access policies or MFA, if you haven't been paying attention, a lot of this play is already kind of configured and pre-configured, right? But when it comes to the deployment of Microsoft 365 Copilot, that's pretty much one of the biggest things that I want to highlight, right? Is protecting your data, making sure that we're not oversharing, that there's no vulnerabilities, no risks in place, right? So we want to protect your organization's data and make sure that whoever we assign these licenses to, right, those power users, that they only have the purview to see what they could see and work with what they can work with. Let's go ahead into the next slide, please, Kanisha. All right, so here at Trusted Tech Team, something that I've been kind of explaining the whole time is our Microsoft 365 Copilot Readiness Assessment. Right here that you see on the screen is pretty much an overview of all the different intricate and detailed points that we review in our assessment, right? Something that I'm definitely very proud to present to all of you guys is compared to our competition, we actually create a custom assessment to be presented to your key stakeholders, right? So starting with the planning and collaborating, this is where we kind of, after the sales process where you meet your account manager and kind of have this project lined up and scheduled with us, this is where we go ahead and meet with you guys and be personal and really understand the goal of your organization, right? The key is to collaborate, understand what kind of goals that are set in the organization and understand the vision and see how your Microsoft 365 is and how we could take it to the next level. So when Copilot is released in your organization, everything is a smooth process, right? What we do is an in-depth discovery, right? So going in through your M365 environment, we then do our due diligence to make sure that we go in there and perform this in-depth discovery. Whether we're reviewing all the modern work apps that are configured into play, such as Intune for mobile device management, Teams, if you're leveraging Teams VoIP, SharePoint when it comes to the external and internal collaboration of sharing data, Exchange when it comes to email, anything in that instance, and so on and so forth, right? Why we put that modern works app module there is Microsoft 365 Copilot is literally Microsoft 365 all in general, right? So it's really important that we make sure that those prerequisites are configured. So when it comes to the deployment of the Copilot to all of the users in our organization, everything is covered, right? And what do I want to highlight that's covered? Data security and governance, security posture review, data governance evaluation. Now, what is that, right? So that's going to be everything that's residing within Purview, within SharePoint, within Defender, if that's what we're leveraging, right? Through the in-depth discovery, we'll see what kind of things that we have in place currently for your organization for data security and governance, right? Are we leveraging DLP policies, right? Data loss prevention. Are we leveraging sensitivity labels in play, right? Do users have the right permission to view what they're able to see, right? What they're supposed to see? And that's probably one of the most common questions that a lot of our clients pretty much hit us up with. Will users see the right things? Well, this is why we perform that assessment, right? Do we have those proper permissions in place and the security parameters in place, right? Going into that security posture review, this is where we can then assess within the modern work apps, do we have the proper security posture in play, right? Are we leveraging device compliance when it comes to Microsoft Intune for your mobile device management? Are all your users enrolled within Microsoft Intune? Right? When it comes to Entra ID, one of the first things that come into my mind is, are we leveraging conditional access policies? And if we are, how in-depth and secure are they, right? That's kind of like the perspective that we take. And then ultimately, we want to evaluate the data governance, right? So from doing this assessment, this is where we pretty much assess and find all the risks and vulnerabilities existing in your Microsoft 365 environment, right? The goal is to pretty much be aligned with all of the industry best practices, right? So from all the engineers and architects that will be performing your assessment, right? Hence the fact that they're Microsoft certified will pretty much get you there and give you that roadmap to take it there and to continue administrating your environment as a Microsoft expert, right? So at Trusted Tech Team, being your Microsoft Solutions partner, that's our goal, right? To pretty much deliver this assessment to you and give you the keys to pretty much to success to whatever the goals of the organization is, right? Which presents so much value, right? I mean, I could tell you right now that the assessments that we give to our clients when we're performing them, they could be anywhere between 30 to 40 pages, right? Sometimes when I see our competitions assessments, they'll literally give out a generic page where it's like a bunch of graphs and, hey, you're at level 5 out of 10 in your security and posture, but what are the recommendations, right? What are you going to provide me as far as a roadmap goes, right? So we take that engagement with you and really collaborate and make sure that we understand the vision and take you there in our best ability. Go ahead into and yes, before we go to the next slide, this is pretty much where we're going to be ending the presentation. If you guys have any questions so far, you know who I am. You can go ahead and find me on LinkedIn, go ahead and add me. But this is where we're going to have our special offer that we're providing to all of our attendees today. So if you're an attendee right now, I want you to go ahead and click that register now link, because we are offering 10 free Copilot M365 readiness assessments right now. That is right. So you're hearing that right. We're offering 10 Microsoft 365 Copilot readiness assessments. So we have architects, engineers ready to pretty much perform this, start this engagement with you. And what we'll pretty much do is have our account management team and our marketing team pretty much connect with you to the right people to get this engagement going, right? Also, in addition to that, where there's a special promotion going on right now where you can potentially get 15% off your Microsoft 365 Copilot license. That's right. You're hearing that right now. It's sounding all very convenient, and it is very, very true. And we're very excited to get this engagement started with you guys. Thank you.
Amazing, Afif. I don't think anybody could have said any of that better. Awesome. Yes, Trusted Tech Team does have in-depth expertise in Copilot. So if you're ready to jump in, you can reach out and feel free to fill out the form that we've linked on the screen or in the chat. But also we have an amazing panel of experts today. And so I would love to open the floor to some of the questions. I know a lot of people have already sent in some of those. So if you haven't already and you have something in your mind, please feel free to drop your question in the chat below. We will do our best to answer that. I'm going to pass this over to the cloud support expert here, Will, to lead us through the Q&A. So there you go, Will.
Thank you very much, Kenesha. Now, one more time, I want you guys to register now and get that done. It's first come, first serve, so don't wait.
First come, first serve, right?
Once you have registered, though, you can feel free to send any additional questions you've been waiting on till the end for. I'm going to go over some of the questions that were asked in the chat just for group clarity. I'm going to start with a good question here. What security measures should businesses take when implementing Copilot? Well, as we just saw, of course, if you have any questions about that, you can sign up for an assessment and we can give you the long version of that answer. Probably be even longer than this presentation here today. But in short form, Microsoft recommends applying the principles of zero trust. So that means we're going to go to your sensitivity labels. We're going to go to your conditional access. We're going to make sure you have MFA implemented. We're going to make sure your access controls and your restricted search are set up. We're going to make sure your Intune is set up, your exchange policies are set up, everything across your M365 environment. So this really isn't just about usage with Copilot. These are best practices as well. So really, optimizing your environment for Copilot is optimizing your environment in general, but it's a great question. In addition to that, we had a question about how is Microsoft 365 Copilot different from Copilot for security? That's a very good question. So Microsoft 365 Copilot is what we've mainly been speaking here today about the productivity apps, Excel, Word, Outlook, PowerPoint, Teams. It integrates with everything that your Microsoft 365 integrates with and has access to your data that's going to be in OneDrive, SharePoint, and everywhere else. In addition to that, Copilot for Security, though, is a separate product that is built separately and is for security applications. It operates a little bit like a SIEM, if you're familiar, but it provides insights to IT security teams and administrators, helping you identify security risks, action upon those risks and remediate those risks as soon as they come up, wherever the vulnerabilities may be in your department. Copilots for security is an entirely different topic that we could go on in an even longer session. But if you have additional questions about it, please feel free to reach out to us, reach out to our support team, reach out to AFIF's professional services team. We have a lot of resources that can help you. Another question here, how can you decide as a team if you can implement Copilot yourself or if you should get third-party help? Realistically, it's going to be up to your team's expertise. Also, how complex your environment is. Definitely time constraints, costs, any key drivers in your organization relating to how quickly you want to roll out Copilot and how strong you believe your resources are in optimizing your environment. Starting with a proper game plan is the best way towards success, whether you're working with a partner such as Trusted Tech Team or going it alone on your own implementation path. We, of course, would recommend that you consult all the best practices that we can inform you about, and Microsoft Scan as well, to ensure a smoother and quicker deployment. I see somebody ask about having a call recording. Yes, the recording will be sent right a little bit after via email.
I'll take this question right here. What security measures should businesses take when implementing Copilot? I feel like from the theme of this presentation, right? One of the biggest things that we highlighted is the whole data piece, right? Data governance, data security. We want to make sure that we have that in place, right? And that's kind of what we emphasized very early in our first webinar in regards to Copilot. If you haven't seen that, you could definitely reference that as well. But that's for sure the number one topic is data governance, data security. I would say even when, like I mentioned, when I was kind of explaining the assessments, SMBs to enterprise organizations, that's kind of the one thing that kind of always gets overlooked. But have no fear. That's why we're here at Trusted Tech Team, to make this engagement an easy breeze.
We had another question about local network shares and whether Copilot Search could retrieve this data or whether that local data would be preserved there. It's a great question. Now, Copilot is optimized for cloud usage. If your company uses on-prem file shares, you would need to find a way to either connect those with Microsoft Graph or get them into the cloud somehow. Again, this is something that is by design for Copilot. It's supposed to work with your Microsoft 365 cloud data. There's many different ways that you could get this data into the cloud, but if you're going to want it retrieved, you're going to need to have it in the cloud. Then again, if you don't want it retrieved through Copilot, your on-prem data is totally secure there.
Another thing that I would piggyback to that, if you're still leveraging on-premises network shares, I think it's time to consider migrating that all over to SharePoint. What do you think?
Absolutely. It's absolutely time to migrate. The best time to migrate was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. All righty. I see we have a question about our assessment. Does it assist with connecting Copilot to our various SharePoint sites? And would you assist with Copilot's answer providing results based on file permissions? Yes, we certainly can assist you with SharePoint access control, SharePoint recommendations, SharePoint restricted search, so that we make sure all of our results that can be pulled back through SharePoint go to the appropriate audiences. Of course, the classic example, the last thing you want is an employee to be able to reach up C-suite sensitive documents, anything like that they should not come into contact with. That is not what Copilot is for, and that's not what we're going to let happen. You can get involved in the assessment process to make sure that all of your information management is under control, anything from DLP policies to sensitivity labels. But in addition to that, yes, for SharePoint site specifically, we can make sure your permissions are set appropriately.
I see a question right here. Does Trusted Tech also offer end user training on Copilot? So from engaging with us and performing that assessment with us, right? Getting those stakeholders on the call, on the delivery call, when we present the assessment, this is where we'll pretty much enable your IT team to go ahead then train your end users, right? That's the key there, because after the engagement, whether it's a professional services project that we perform for you, but more importantly, when it comes to the Copilot side of things, we want you guys to also be experts moving forward as well, right? Have that ability to confidently administrate everything. But through an assessment engagement, we'll pretty much provide literally a roadmap, right? Where we will literally list each recommendation in detail and also provide official Microsoft documentation of how to train users. Just like how Nick kind of ran through with prompting, we also have documentation for your users in regards to that as well.
I want to bring up another scenario that gets asked of me all the time, really, when we discuss Copilot, and it's kind of a more general question. It's I'm on board, but how do I get my leadership on board with Copilot? How do I get them to buy in? And I think when it comes to leadership, you really got to speak their language. So one thing I would say is, let's say you give a user on your team a Copilot license and they get 10% more efficient. Let's say I've got a team of 10 users. I give them all Copilot licenses. If they're all 10% more efficient, I've gotten myself 100% of a new team member for the price
Yeah.
of what, around 300 a month, give or take a little bit, MSRP for just a license for each of those individuals. Now, what would it cost for me to hire an 11th person for that team? I probably couldn't get away with paying them $300 a month, not legally anyway. So I just want to point out that if you believe there might be just a little bit more productivity that you can get out of your existing resources already with that addition of a Copilot license, you've got some much quicker paths towards efficiency than some traditional methods.
Definitely. And that's what we emphasize very early in the presentation. That's how you truly get your ROI, right? Truly with the implementation, making sure that everything's properly in place, right? I want to highlight properly. You'll definitely see that ROI within your organization.
Cool. We have a new question in the chat from Andre. When using Copilot for Microsoft 365, will it collaborate with the Copilot for D365 sales using both D365 and other M365 services data to generate content?
Definitely. One of the most important things, right, is allowing those connected sources to come into play, right? Which kind of like was the question relative to the on-premise, right? Once we have those certain parameters and configurations into play, it could then definitely reference D365 sales or anything D365, right? Ultimately, anything that resides within that ecosystem resides within the organization SharePoint, whatever the case may be, but data resides there. So yes, definitely.
Let's give you an even more practical example. Let's say a company emails in and a trusted contact to yours says, hey, I'm moving offices. I need you to update my primary phone number. If you just get that email in Outlook, D365 Sales will offer you the ability to update that customer's contact information right from Outlook. You don't even have to log into Dynamics or anything like that. It will give you the prompt right there. I've seen these demos live. I wish I could show you right here. I don't have a Dynamics sales environment ready to go right now, but trust me, I can follow up with you with that example after the fact.
Wonderful.
Awesome. And I think somebody else asked in reference to the prompt, Minya or Minja, hopefully I'm not butchering that. Do these functions work if we are utilizing our own email service as opposed to Microsoft? I think in reference to Nick's wonderful demo. And I believe the answer is no.
That's correct. I mean, if you're leveraging email on a different service, this is actually one of the biggest projects that we perform here in professional services. Let's just say that you have everything within your Google Workspace, but you're already leveraging enterprise licenses for Microsoft 365, such as a Business Premium E3 or E5. I think it's time to consider migrating, right? So this is where you can consider migrating and really take a big ROI and advantage of all the tools accessible to you, right? Not only that, it's really easy when it comes to IT administration and management moving forward, right? It's the consolidation piece. That's kind of what we do within the assessment as well. Sometimes you'll see clients leveraging Okta for identity or Duo for MFA, but you're paying for an E3 license through us. We'll always make that recommendation and be honest and be in your best interest to consolidate everything over, because in the end, it's a lot easier to manage it that way.
Amazing. Great answer to that. Awesome. So I think that was every question. And so I want to say a huge thank you to everybody tuning in. We love talking about Microsoft. We love sharing our expertise. And to Afif, Nick, and Will, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and getting on here and just being really great. I want to remind everybody that, as Afif says, we are giving away those 10 free Copilot readiness assessments. Please feel free to register for it if you are interested. And for everybody else, check out out that 15% off Microsoft 365 Copilot. It's the same link. We'll reach out if you qualify. So yeah, that's all on the link, but we're also going to send an email afterwards with the recording. I know a lot of people were asking for that. We'll also include the slides in there, and any additional resources that might help you. But yeah, thank you everybody. It was really, really fun hosting. I look forward to seeing you guys all in the next one. And if you like our content or want to keep in touch, please feel free to follow us on social media. All right. Have a nice day, everybody, and take care.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.